Welcome to episode 6 of Live Nation Urban Presents Meet the Founders. I'm your host, Brandon Pankey, and today we have a very, very special guest. He is a partner with Maverick, which is the world's largest management company. He is also the president of Live Nation Urban, which is the most powerful source of live music urban content. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Gee. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Life is grand. How about you?
I'm always good, even when I'm not. Always good. So no, this is exciting for me. You know, this is a mentor of mine, someone that I have worked with for 13, 14 years across a lot of different areas in the music business. So this should be a great conversation. And Shawn, I really want to kick it off because I want to start kind of in pieces, right? Because you've done so much in the music industry. So I want to start at the beginning. You
Okay.
started at Wall Street and then somehow ended up as the manager for the Roots and Jill Scott. Can you talk about that first initial transition from Wall Street to management?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a kid from Philadelphia. Went to undergraduate at Millersville University, and then went to grad school at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And I like to say, sort of my journey, my educational journey was not about looking back on it. It wasn't about finding what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. When I look back on it, it was more eliminating things that I didn't want to do, right? Things that I thought I wanted to do. Hey, I want to be an accountant. Like, nah, I don't want to be a CPA, but I like numbers. I want to go in finance. Like, yeah, maybe not corporate finance. You know what I mean? So after I got out of grad school, back then I got my MBA. It was, you had two paths. It was like either you're going consulting or you're going Wall Street, or you wasted your time. You're a failure, right? So I took Wall Street. I had a job. I was a private banker at Citibank. Had an office at 53rd and Lexington in New York. Had an office in Zurich, Switzerland. And I was back and forth between Europe and New York. I was in Europe probably once a week, and in my New York office 3 times a week. And it was cool. It was what I was supposed to be doing, right? But as you go through life, you start to see things and you start to feel that itch. Like, I don't know if this is me. And I felt that itch, but I just didn't know what I needed to scratch it. Mm-hmm. And I got a call one day. I was in my office in New York, and I got a call one day from Richard Nichols, R.I.P. Rich, who was the manager of the Roots at the time. And he was at Sony Studios, which is no longer there. But he said, yo, after work, you come through. And I was like, cool. Me and Rich hung out. I walked in, he had a bottle of wine. He was smoking some weed. I was like, what's up? I think he was mixing the Jazzy Fat Nasties album at the time, or doing something with the Jazzy Fat Nasties. And we sat down and literally had like a 7-hour conversation. And he just was telling me how much he hated this. And I was like, what do you hate? And he said, the business side of my management job, like dealing with these agents and, dealing with the guy's money and, all of this sort of what for him was mundane operations associated with being a manager. And because Rich was the consummate, I call him the fifth Beatle. You know what I mean? The Roots creatively, whatever you've seen from 1992 to, to a certain extent still to this day after he passed was, Tariq, Amir, and Rich, right? He mixed the records. He drove the van. He was the front of house at the shows. Like, he did everything. So he said, I need you to help me. And I was like, help you do what? I was like, dog, I got a job down the street, He was like, I don't care. Just figure it out. Like, just you deal with the agents. You deal with the label with budgets. You deal with these guys with this money. Let me do this. So for about, I would say 8 months, I was Shawn Gee, the private banker, and Shawn Gee, the guy that was helping out the Roots. I didn't have a title. And it got to a point, I remember one night I was in the office like 10 o'clock and I saw, my managing director left and I was the only one there. And I'm like, oh snap. Like, I spent all day doing Roots stuff. I haven't done one thing for the bank.
Right.
And, it came to a point where I had to make a decision. And, I said a prayer. I talked to my mom and was like, yo, I think this is what I want to do. I think I finally found what I wanted to do. Now, I took probably a 600% pay cut those first couple of years from the Roots, leaving the bank but I said a prayer and jumped out on faith, and you know, that was the sort of beginning of that transition.
So you started Roots, but then you added Jill Scott as a client.
Yeah. So I worked exclusively with the Roots for 2 years. I want to say like 98, 99, into 2000. I was exclusively with the Roots, just learning the game. Like I remember I lived in a apartment in right outside Princeton, New Jersey, and my entire apartment was like boxes of OK Player T-shirts. And you know, anybody that put in the order on the website, we didn't have a fulfillment shop. I was a fulfillment shop. You know what I mean? I would go bag them, you know, 5 times a day, run to my post office. People looking at me like I was crazy, but that's what we did. We did anything. You know what I mean? I carried bags. You know, Rich needed some help doing whatever. You know, anything that I could do. Anything he could do, he would do. So I sort of learned the game, the touring game, in an organic way. You know, settling shows and counting towels and distributing per diems, and you know, so it was whatever I had to do. And you know, the Roots at the time, they were doing, you know, we were doing 200 shows a year. Like this was way before Jimmy Fallon Roots. This was, you know, a couple grand a show. Let's make sure these guys can pay their rent. This was our goal. Make sure they can pay their rent. Make sure they can take a young lady out on a date, and make sure they can give their mom some light bill money if she needed it. That was it. You know, that was our goal. It was like, yo, if they can do that, success. Let's move on to the next day. But we started to sort of get a bit more successful. I put in like sort of a process with touring. You know, I used my MBA background and like put a process in, put some budgetary constraints in. And one day, you know, I was with Tariq, and he kept playing this song over and over and over again. And I was like, what's that? And he was like, it's the Jill song. That was, I think that might've been the name on the cassette tape, the Jill song. And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, yo, this shit is on fire. This is fire.
Right.
And it was You Got Me. It was before, you know, we went to the label and said, you know, here's the version of you, here's what we want to do. This is on the album. And they looked at us and was like, you need somebody else to sing it. And then the whole Jill Erica thing that you guys heard on Saturday happened. But we were at I think it was in Boston. It was whatever that venue is across from Fenway Park. We were up there at a show in sound check, and I heard this voice, you know, coming from the spot. And I walked into the room, and I'm like, that's Jill. Like, I've known Jill Scott since high school. I went to Central. She went to Girls High. Right. Never knew she was a poet. Never knew she was a performer. Never knew any of that. She dated a guy on the basketball team. I was on the basketball team. That was Jill, you know, from Girls High. So we sort of connected there. She had a team in place. But at a certain point, once she, you know, was moving towards putting that first album out, her and her husband, Lizelle at the time, shout out Lizelle, called me and said, you know, can you come on our team? And again, it was sort of like the Roots, right? Like, I didn't have a title. Like, I called myself business manager with the Roots, but it was like business manager. I called myself business manager. Rich called himself creative manager. You know what I mean? We both were just managers, right? We just shared different. I just knew what my role and responsibility was. He knew what his core role and responsibility was, and then we shared everything else. So it was a similar thing with Jill because, you know, she had a manager, she had, you know, her husband, she had production, she had a lawyer. You know what I mean? She had all of that, and I just came in and sort of was a overall consultant, and those were the first 2 clients.
Gotcha. So you have Jill. You don't have a title, but you call yourself business manager.
Correct.
And you start G Finance Group, which later morphed into the Sports and Entertainment Finance Group.
Correct.
Because not only did you work with the Roots and Jill, but you worked with a couple of other artists that people may know.
Yeah. I mean, again, without having a pure sort of title with my first 2 clients, but I leaned on my background. I was a finance guy. You know, I was a banker. So I definitely handled all of the finances, all of the money. I, you know, picked the tax accountant, the investment advisor, you know, they all reported in through me. And, you know, that was my core responsibility. I, you know, opened up the book of music and I said, what am I?
Right.
You know, I opened up Don Passon's book, like, what am I? And like, oh, I'm a business manager. Cool. You know, let's add more clients. It's interesting because if you remember, and you remember, that next important client really sort of set the trajectory for my career, trajectory for where I am now. And that was, you've heard the story many times when, you know, I got the phone call from Los Angeles. A lady called and said, hey, my son, he's a producer. He's a great producer, and he's releasing an album. He wants to rap. He has a manager. You know, he has a business manager. He has an agent. He has a lawyer. But, you know, our agent says no one on our team knows anything about touring. You know, his manager had only managed producers at the time. You know, his business manager at the time only had LA film and TV clients. So we, you know, I flew out to LA. It was like 4 people that got interviewed, and I got hired on the spot. And that was Kanye West. And that was Donda West. Miss West called, and they hired me on the spot. And again, it was interesting because I was in another quasi role. You know, there was the manager, there was a business manager, there was a lawyer, there was an agent. If those were like circles, concentric circles, I was the point in the middle where everything met when it came to touring. You know, so I worked with Ye. The first tour we did was a school spirit tour right off a college dropout. He was like, I want to do a college tour. So we did school spirit tour, and, you know, really worked with him for, I guess the last tour I did with him was Watch the Throne. You know, so we went from colleges and clubs on up through multiple arena tours, and the last tour I did with him was Watch the Throne. So that sort of, you know, set the trajectory for, you know, where my business has grown over the last 10 years. But one key point about that, I remember when I walked in that room with Kanye and Miss West, when Miss West walked me in the room, they were having a team meeting, and it was like 7 people in the room. And I walk in, and they looking at me like, who is this dude? You know what I mean? And I'm looking at them like, what up? You know what I mean? I'm the new guy. But it's a lesson in relationships, because when I walked in that room, there were one guy I knew already through my wife, but 2 people, G. Roberson and Al Branch. They were the managers. G. Roberson, Al Branch, and Don C. Shout out Don C. They were the management team, right? And here I am, Kanye's mom bringing me in, you know, to be the touring guy. Like, they could have easily, you know, threw that shield up and was like, nah, well, this ain't happening. But, you know, we sat down, we built, like I said, I already knew Al through my wife. And, you know, we formed a relationship where 1 + 1 = 6. It was like Voltron to the 10th degree, because I focused on touring. And when I focused on touring, that allowed G to focus solely on building brand Kanye. You know what I mean? That allowed Al to focus solely on marketing. You know, so we all sort of had our spaces, and I say it's a lesson in relationships, because both of us could have came in there with attitudes or preconceived issues, but because we didn't, we really realized that we are the same type of people, and we all are, you know, have the same goal in mind. G and Al's next client, they partnered with a guy named Cortez Bryant, who had a client by the name of Lil Wayne. And this is 2007, 2008 Lil Wayne, Carter 3, the biggest album in the world at the time. 1 million copies the first week. But what did Lil Wayne have problems with? Touring. You know, he was on some strip club brown paper bag touring model, although he was literally the biggest artist in the world. And because I worked with G and Al and the team on Ye, and they saw what we did, and we grew at that time, that was like post Glow in the Dark tour. So we were at phenomenal levels with Kanye. They were like, yo, come on over to this Wayne team. You know, with the Wayne team, that's when I met Cortez Bryant. And, you know, first tour out the box was I Am Music. It was interesting because I told Tez, I remember telling Tez, I was like, look, I don't want to come in and change what Wayne does, you know, because Wayne is Wayne. He has his core group of people. He has his core group, his way of communicating. All I want to do is I'm going to insulate that. Let me build around it. Let me build a process. Let me build a team. Let me sort of elevate what you guys are already doing with my knowledge and expertise. And Tez, to his you know, benefit, he was like, yo, go do it. You know what I mean? And they gave me the autonomy to build out what Lil Wayne touring was to be, without going in and interrupting what they were already doing. And that first tour was I Am Music tour. You know, we broke records with the I Am Music tour. And then, you know, Tez became an instant friend, an instant partner. The next client, on that I Am Music tour, you know, Wayne had like 15,000 tour buses. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, keep those buses over there. I don't even need to know who on there. Like, here's the production bus. Here's the band bus. You know, here's the buses I'm worried about. Y'all worried about them. But on those buses was a young gentleman by the name of Drake and a young lady by the name of Nicki Minaj. Cortez and G and Al and the team started managing Drake. They brought me in, you know what I mean, to handle the touring for early Drake. I mean, you know, we sort of built that foundation for Drake. And then, you know, when he after our relationship, he moved on to his current management team, but we built the foundation and really taught them a lot about the game. And then Tez and G started managing Nicki Minaj and then brought me along. So, you know, I think it's a combination of, you know, over that period of time, really perfecting a craft, learning the craft organically. Again, my contemporaries were sitting in offices looking at spreadsheets and shit. Like, I was on the road, I was, you know, going to shows, I was figuring it out, you know, with the roots. So it's like learning the craft organically, working my behind off, forming relationships. And then, you know, once you plant those seeds, those things grow.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the relationship with Tez and with G. Roberson, because the three of you kind of together and formed Blueprint Artist Management, which then got sold to Live Nation in
Correct.
2015. And then you became a part of Maverick. Can we talk about from that period on?
Yeah, I mean, that was a interesting time, because again, by 2011, 2012, you know, and really the face to the management team was G. You know what I mean? And you know, we were all cool with that. Like, you know what I mean? I think all of us were cool with that except G. You know what I mean? But so by that time, like, G. Roberson was the biggest manager in the game. Right. You know what I mean? And we had the biggest team in the game. I mean, you know, we didn't maintain all of those clients throughout, but it's like, you know, these are the guys that built Kanye. These are the guys that, you know, Wayne. These are the guys that, you know, managed Drake in the beginning. These are the guys, you know, I even outside of G and Tez, I consulted with J. Cole. You know, I met Cole on one of my early Drake tours, and him and Mark Pitts and the whole team, by Storm team. Wayne was like, yo, can you come on and help us, consult us? So, you know, we had a lot of the big names, and Live Nation was building this mega management company, this sort of roll up of independent managers called Maverick. And, you know, they of course looked at the top managers, who can we go out and buy? And they said, we need G. Roberson. Right. You know, but at the time, me, G, and Tez still had individual companies. Mm-hmm. So once they went to see, okay, we need G. Roberson, they were like, oh, okay, we also need Cortez Bryant, because that is half of Lil Wayne, that is part of Drake. So I need G. Roberson and Cortez Bryant. And then a combination of G on one side, and then my OG, my mentor, Al Heyman, on the other side, because I was doing all these tour deals with Al. Mm-hmm. You know, and Al showed me so much about the game. He is, and will forever be my OG. Al went to Live Nation and said, well, if you want G. Roberson and Cortez Bryant, this guy over here is the operator. You need to get Shawn Gee. You know what I mean? And G said the same thing. Like, well, it's not just me and Tez. You need Shawn. And Michael Rapino and Guy Osiris had no idea who I was, because I keep a low profile. It's about the artist, and within the management thing, it was about G and Tez. So, you know, I don't know if they reluctantly did it or if they did it because because G and Heyman said it. But what we ended up doing was merging our three companies, and then we sold that merged entity into Live Nation under Maverick, and we were founding partners of Maverick Management. You know, us and Karen from Pharrell's team. You know, shout out to Karen. We were the only three African Americans that were part of that big deal.
Wow. So let's talk about this, right? So Wall Street, to management with the roots in jail, to business management, to coming back to artist management, Maverick. A lot of people look at that trajectory and say, you know what? I'm good. My career is good. I'm with Live Nation. I build with these artists. Call it a day. But you saw something within Live Nation that maybe could be tweaked or better, could be enhanced, which led to Live Nation Urban. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that was interesting, because you're right. I got in through Maverick, you know, and where I was able to see. I've always been on the sell side of the business, you know. Yep. I call it. I'm an artist manager, right? Like, so I understand from an artist perspective how to build a profile. I understand what the trajectory should be. I understand what the first 2 steps should be in order to reach the 5th step that you want to reach. So that part of it, I understood. I had done countless arena shows and tours and all of that. But one thing that, you know, again, you talk about an itch that needs to be scratched. I always was curious as to why, 2 things, why there wasn't African-American representation, you know, from a vendor perspective, you know, from a venue perspective, like from, you know, I'm representing, you know, again, all of the artists I represent was Black. Right. So, you know, whether I walked into the House of Blues or whether I walked into Madison Square Garden, you know, I'm sitting there playing the game. Me and my wife got this game, like BP, Black people, count them. You know what I mean? I'm like, where are they?
Right.
You know, so that was one thing that was an itch that I always was like, I don't understand. The other thing was what I saw within Live Nation. I mean, it, you know, there's number 1 and then number 5. You know what I mean? Live Nation is the top live entertainment company globally in the world. Michael Rapino has done an amazing job. I mean, he's somebody, with Al Heyman, he's another person that I really, really respect. And I've studied, you know what I mean? I've studied what he's done because it's masterful. But they, at that point, did big really well. You know, when we built Kanye up to a certain point, there was nobody else that could help us take him to the depths of success that he had. There was no one else that could have done what they did with Wayne. You know what I mean? When somebody popped up, you know, Live Nation knew what to do with it. But in culture, in our culture, you know, there was some low-hanging fruit. There were some amazing partners. There were some amazing promoters. There were some great things that were being ignored. So my pitch to them was, you know, Live Nation does a great job up here, but within African-American culture, within hip-hop, within R&B, within gospel, there's so much more opportunity here. And the reason you're not seeing it is not necessarily because you don't want to. You just don't have anyone focused on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have anyone focused on it. So let me come in and be that person to focus on it. And it was like, it probably took a year for me to, you know, sort of convince. I mean, I will say there's a guy named Jordan Zachary, who's, you know, in the C-suite. You know, after my first couple meetings with Rapino, I think Jordan was one of the folks that really got it. You know, he really saw what I was talking about, and he helped sort of usher in the deal. And that sort of became what, you know, that conversation over a 12-month period became Live Nation Urban.
Gotcha. So let's talk about some of the platforms that you developed, because I think each of them were important for the formation of Urban and where we are now. Let's start with because that was started in 2008, but we've seen it flourish to 20, 30,000 people now. You know, can you talk about why that was important for the Roots to start? It was really, to be honest, in the United States or anywhere, one of the first artist-curated festivals ever.
Absolutely, and I'm going to claim that.
Yep.
Shout out to Astroworld, Dreamville, all of them, but I'm going to claim that Roots Picnic was first, right? But, I mean, again, everything that I am in the business, there is a path back to the roots. You know, I don't care what level of success I achieve or what level of success they achieve or what, you know, everything that I am is a path back to the roots. And you got to understand, like with the Roots, we, you know, I joke, but, you know, we had 1.5 singles in our career. You know what I mean? Like we are the antithesis of what a successful hip hop act should be. You know what I mean? We don't have, you know, a huge catalog that everyone recognizes. You know, we don't have, you know, huge branding deals or huge publishing deals or, you know, we just sort of grinded it out. But the beauty of that was our sort of path from ideation to execution was like this big because what do we have to lose? Right. You know what I mean? We got an idea. Oh shit, that was down. You got. Let's do it. You know what I mean? So that's what the Roots Picnic was. Like the guys had been traveling the world. They had been playing. You know, the festival phenomenon that now exists in the U.S. existed in Europe for decades, right? And when the hip hop world of the hip hop audience of the United States did not accept the Roots, you know what I mean? Because we were, you know, black musicians who rapped. Right. You know, that was an anomaly. You know, that didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like you see Ye and Jay-Z and Kendrick all with bands now. When the Roots came up, I remember we went to, there was one show in Lincoln University specifically. Keith McPhee was setting up the equipment, and the guys weren't even out there. People were booing live instruments on the stage, the concept. The guys didn't even get to play. They were like just booing the concept of the Roots before they came out. So it was always the antithesis of whatever was hot at the time. And, as they were touring and doing all of these shows and all these festivals, we were like, yo, this is dope. Like, these events are dope. Like, how come we don't have anything like that in Philly? Mm-hmm. And I remember me, Tariq and Rich and Amir were like, yo, let's do it. And then a lot of times things like that, let's do it, falls on my shoulders. So I went around, I sat with the mayor at the time, the mayor's office. I called some sponsors. I did a whole bunch of like, okay, how can I get the money or figure it out? Sure. And I, called up a guy who's one of my good friends now, a guy named Jeff Gordon in Philly. And I was like, Jeff, I got this idea. Like, we want to do a festival called the Roots Picnic in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I don't know where. It's going to be, we're going to call on a bunch of our friends, and it's going to be diverse. You're going to discover some acts, da-da-da-da. And Jeff has a very much entrepreneurial mindset like me. Jeff was like, okay, cool, I'll back it. Right. So that was the start of the Roots Picnic in 2008. We had like 2,500 people down at Festival Pier. Who was our headliner? It was Gnarls Barkley. Yep. And Gnarls Barkley was our headliner. Like, we didn't even headline the first year because we was like, shit, I don't know how many tickets we can sell. So we need Gnarls Barkley headline. And yeah, it started there, and we just continued. We were like the little engine that could with the Roots Picnic because, the festival economy started coming in the U.S. You started seeing these big festival brands, and then we were sort of self-funded. Us and Jeff, self-funding this thing. And then, Hove came through and crushed the buildings with Made in America. You know what I mean? And we looked at each other like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, like we had the like little diner on one side of the street. He came with the big multiplex on the other side, but we stuck to our core essence, which is creativity, curation, collaboration, and discovery. Yep. So if you go back, if y'all bored one day, you just go back and look at all of the Roots Picnic flyers. There's some discovery on every one where you're like, who's that? You know what I mean? There's collaboration on every one. You know what I mean? The Roots with The Weeknd and Erykah Badu collaborate. The Roots and Pharrell. There's collaboration on every one. And it's still just sort of creative. Like when we came up with the podcast stage, it was like, I think me and Moo was sitting in the office one day and we were like, yo, we should do a podcast stage. Oh, all right. Why don't you call Nori and his team? I'll call Angela Rye and I'll get Amir, So that's really what it was. It was like, we didn't have anything to fear. We had a great partner in Jeff, and we just sort of built this thing.
Great. So let's talk about Live Nation. And there were 3 deals that kind of led to where Live Nation Urban is today. 1, Rat Caviar Live.
Yep.
2, Broccoli City.
Yep.
3, Exodus Music Arts Festival.
Yep.
Because I think each provides just a different layer of what Live Nation is today.
Yeah. So when we announced Live Nation Urban, I was very specific with what I wanted to announce, right? And because I wanted people to understand exactly what this is. Like, this isn't a layer of Live Nation that's going to go out and chase artist tours and then compete with the touring department. And, this was something that we're going after culture. Right. You know what I mean? We're going after culture, specifically Black culture, and we're calling out the inequities that exist within the industry, not within Live Nation, within the industry. We're going to be intentional about calling those things out, and we're going to try to provide the solution. Those were the things. If you look at the first announcement, I'm always intentional about that. But when I said hip hop, R&B, and gospel, I was like, all right, we got to deliver on that. Right. So the first deal I did was with Spotify. I was listening to Rap Caviar was everything. You know what I mean? It had transitioned into the platform. If you're a new hip hop artist, back in the day, it used to be mix show DJs, you know what I mean? But now it was like, you got to get on Rap Caviar. Right. And I was listening to it one day. I think I was on vacation with my family in Miami, and I was listening to it, and I was like, yo, this is the new radio. And really, the live show concept in radio was only one of the only self-sustaining profit centers still existing within radio, right? So I said, how come they don't have a live thing? At the time, my homie, my mentor, my old head, my young boy, Troy Carter, was running Spotify. So I called Troy up and said, Troy, I got an idea. And again, the power of relationships. Troy was like, Shawn, that's a great idea. When you come back to New York, I'm gonna sit you with Tuma and Josh. You know, Tuma the GOAT and Josh, who ran their experiential at the time, and me and you went up there, made a presentation to them. We pitched them. We thought we were killing it. You know what I mean? You know, turned our PowerPoint off. It was like, what? And they were just quiet.
Right.
And you remember that? They were just quiet. And we were like, shit, okay. But it had turned out that they were thinking of this. How can we build experiential? And we came with the solution. So that was the first deal, was a 50-50 joint venture on Rap Caviar Live. Right. The second deal that I did was I flew to Dallas, sat with a brother by the name of Kirk Franklin. I remember we were sitting at lunch, and I said to him, like, you're the Jay-Z of gospel. Why don't you have Made in America? Right. You know, and I remember Kirk was very, I mean, Kirk's a humble dude. Like, Kirk is a great guy, a humble dude. He had done his research before I got there because he didn't know who I was. And I remember he thanked me. He said, yo, I just want to thank you. And I said, what? We ain't even start yet. I ain't even give you my pitch yet. And he was like, no, because in your press release, when you announced this, you said the word gospel. He said, we're never mentioned. He said, we're never mentioned in Billboard. We're never mentioned. We're not even part of the conversation. Right. You know? So, you know, when I pitched him on, like I said, how come you're not, how come you don't have an event? He said, no one's asking me. So we left that restaurant with Exodus Music Festival, Music and Arts Festival, which is, you know, gospel festival in Dallas. It's Kirk Franklin's our partner, 50-50. And we're going to build and grow. I mean, this year, you know, as you know, we had really big plans. The first 2 years was super successful. We established the brand in Dallas. This year, we had really super big plans to expand, but, you know, things kicked in. So we're gonna do that next year. And then, so the third deal that we did, you mentioned, was this festival called Broccoli City Festival in Washington, D.C. And I remember it was like a year before I stalked him. I was booking the Roots Picnic, and a couple agents, I think Caroline Yim, a couple agents that, you know, sort of operate in the same, you know, sort of cool creative sphere that we operate in, was like, yeah. They can play the Roots Picnic as long as they play Broccoli City. And I was like, what's Broccoli City? Right. Oh, you don't know Broccoli City? I'm like, nah. And then I was a man on a mission. You know what I mean? I literally stalked these dudes, went down there, sat with Marcus. Brandon was in LA at the time. Brandon came to DC, sat with Brandon, and I was like, yo, I remember saying, like, we're going to do a deal, and I'm going to invest in y'all. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this festival, but I'm investing in y'all. And I went to the festival that year, and they had it out in Southeast DC at a place called St. E's, and it was raining. It was like the worst possible day you can have for a festival. Both of their stages was on grass, you know. I borderline didn't want to go. I was at a basketball tournament with my son in Richmond, and I was like, do I got to drive to this joint? And I was like, you know what? Let me go. Something was like, Shawn, you got to go. So I drove a couple hours up to DC, and I went to this festival, and I walked in, I was like, yo, what I saw, I mean, that year they might have had 10,000 people there. It was 10,000 African-American millennials, 70% women, partying their ass off, partying in the rain, black women in the rain, in the mud, dressed, partying. I'm like, yo, y'all got something. So I sat down and, you know, we cut a deal. I insured them. I'm sure they were nervous because here I am coming in, you know, with a checkbook. Hey, you know, I'm going to help. I'm going to fund this. I'm going to fund that. But, you know, I think, you know, that there was something there that connected with us. And, you know, for me, it's not Live Nation Urban Broccoli City Festival anymore. It's Broccoli City Festival. It's these two dudes and their team. Shout out to Daryl. It's these two dudes and their team that have the finger on their pulse of culture. They understand how to speak to black millennials. They understand, you know, their brand. They understand sustainability and what that means within the African-American culture. I'm not going to come in and try to take their stuff. I'm going to come in and try to elevate them. So we came in and sort of white labeled our services, stuff that they really didn't know what they were doing. Right. We came in and helped, and we grew it from year one. From that year of 10,000, I think year one, we moved it to RK Stadium. We did 30,000. you know, and then, you know, again, this year was going to be a record year, you know, but things happen. But yeah, I mean, that was the third deal. And I think those 3 deals really set the foundation of what Live Nation Urban is. You know, some stuff that we own,
Yep.
some stuff that we partner, some stuff that we white label, but it's all about elevating culture and investing in young Black entrepreneurs and investing in young Black executives.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it. If you can hear me, I'm hearing it cutting in and out, so apologize. But let's talk about what this year was going to be, because not only do we have, but we have Lights On Fest, which is HER's artist curated festival partner with her and Janine and Jeff. Shout out to them. We have Lil Wayne, which is Lil Wayne Festival. We have Summer Block Party, which is the R&B, you know, summer concert series in 6 markets this year.
Big. This year, that first week when we closed down, you know, it was a range of emotions, dog. It was, I mean, obviously there was fear, you know, just fear for my family, my health, you know, just overall fear of the unknown, right? But, you know, there was a little bit of, you know, sort of sadness / depression, because we spent that first week to week and a half undoing 6 to 8 months of work.
Yep.
We spent that first 10 days just like, it's like you build up a house and you almost done. All you got to do is like put the front door on and you come through with a battering ram. Like, that was cool. Get rid of all of that, right? So, yeah, this year we, you know, we had Broccoli City sold out. We had, first off, we had Miami Jazz in the Gardens, headlined by Mary J. Blige and Jill Scott. Come on, man. That was that weekend that everything shut down. You know what I mean? Then we had Broccoli City sold out. You know, we had Exodus Music Festival. Sold out. We had Roots Picnic, which was going to be the biggest year ever. We had 20-something thousand tickets sold 2 months in advance. We'd have 40 to 50,000 people out there if we wanted to. You know what I mean? We had Summer Block Party. We had, hopefully, you know, may still have, you know, we'll see, our partnership with her, which is like one of the most important deals that I made, because, you know, I saw something, and the first time I saw her was at the TLA in Philly, and I was like, yo, I'm kind of a stalker. When I get on something, I was like, yo, who is that?
Right.
You know, and introduced myself to a management team. You know, I've known of them for years. They've known of me for years, but never knew each other. And, you know, I sort of cold pitched them like, yo, y'all are the shit. You know what I mean? She's amazing. Like, let's do a festival. And they were like, what? I was like, yo, we can do a festival together. You own 50%. Like, we figured out our deal. Let's just do it. And, you know, we did Lights On Festival last year. And then this year we had plans to grow that. Louisiana, you know, and more. But you know what? You know, 2021 is going to be an amazing year for us.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's going to be an amazing year for us. So, you know, but yeah, this was a great one. This was a great one.
And it was a great, I brought that all up because I want to talk about the pivot that's been how important it was to watch all of the things we had to push off to 2021, building on what we had, creative, and finding ways to take these work with and do new and exciting.
Yeah, I mean, the pivot is important. Again, like I said, that first week to week and a half was tough, because I just didn't know. You know what I mean? I was undoing all of my work that I've done. The future was unknown. You know, no one knew. No one really had any information. Right. And, you know, I was just really sitting back, you know, spending time just thinking, you know what I mean? And I will say what really helped me was I have a group chat of me, Troy Carter, Jay Irving, Ryan Press, Sterling Sims, just like, you know, Philly dudes that live in LA. We just got a group chat that, you know, we talk trash, we talk sports, we talk whatever, but we also share knowledge with each other. We share game with each other. And I think it was Troy and Jay. Jay actually sent me, he was like, yo, I just read this book called Who Moved My Cheese? You should check it out. And that was like 2.5 weeks into quarantine. And that really changed my mindset. That immediately I was like, Okay. Immediately I rolled my sleeves up and I went into 2002 Roots move. You know, we got to figure this out. We got to be creative. This is an opportunity. This isn't really a threat. You guys see a threat. I see an opportunity.
Right.
You know, and on the two sides of my life, you know, I got the live side with Live Nation Urban and the management side. We immediately went into creative mode because that's what's going to win. There, you know, really studying what's going on, understanding where the opportunities lie and building upon them so that when we come out of this, we're in a better position than we were when we came in this. So, you know, on the management side, with the Roots and Jill, it was like two separate paths. You know, the Roots, we immediately dug in. Like people wasn't even safe yet. People hadn't even like found out where they were going to quarantine. And me, Tariq, and Amir, Dawn White, shout out to Dawn, who's Amir's on my team. She runs all of Amir's DJ stuff. Zara, Alexis, you know, Munir, shout out to Moo. We immediately just start jumping in and just having creative ideas. And step one was Questlove's DJ, you know, activity. We saw what D Nice was doing. We established Questlove. We went Instagram, we went YouTube. Brian Calhoun and Dawn came up with the idea of let's go multiple channels. So we went Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, Facebook, you know what I mean? So that was like first. Then we said, you know what? Everybody's doing this artist performance at home thing on IG. Let's build content. Let's just build content. So we basically went to our YouTube page, and probably over the last 5 weeks, we've self-produced over 60 to 70 pieces of short form content. Some of it is music related. Some of it is streams of thought with Tariq talking to artists like Bisa Butler. You know what I mean? Some of it is James Poyser behind the keys, him telling stories of him making songs with, you know, Erykah Badu and you know, Lauryn Hill and Adele. You know what I mean? Some of it is acquired content from internal within the fam. You know, Tina Ferris coming with The Bridge, which is a conversation of creatives that all exist, you know, within Africa, within the UK, within, you know, it's just, and what's happening is the creativity that's happening as we go into this is now incubating amazing ideas that will flourish when we come out of this.
Yep.
You know, so we went in, Fast Company saw that we were, you know, what we were doing, and they did an article, and then NBC, you know, we went and ended up, you know, doing a first look production deal, multi-year, multi-million-dollar. They're putting a significant investment in building out what I call the next phase of the Roots business, which is content development. Right. You know, so, and again, all of that started with us not being scared. You know what I mean? It went back to like 2002. Like, you got an idea? Let's do it. Right. Like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a bit underproduced. Yeah, the lighting ain't right. You know what I mean? But, you know, it's like creatives need to create. And as long as they're given the platform to create, I believe in the artists. That's the thing. I'm not one of these managers or one of these executives that think it's about me. That's why, you know, that's why you don't see me on Instagram. I mean, again, I know there's an argument of, you know, the whole self-promotion of social media and all that. And I'm on social media. You know what I mean? I'm on it. You know what I mean? But I'm not on it as me. I'm on it as Live Nation Urban. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't I just don't self-promote because I come up in the game saying the artists. I believe in the artists. None of us would have a job if it wasn't for these artists. Okay. Right? So I'm not going to be the one that has a great shot. I see promoters and agents, you know what I mean? They have one sellout show and, you know, here's a picture of me walking to the show. Here's a picture of me on stage. Here's a picture of me with the artists. You know, that's not me. You know what I mean? Because the artists are the ones that deserve all of the accolades, right? So anyhow, you know, from a standpoint of giving artists platform to create, we just went in and you see the fruits of our labor. And this is just the beginning on that side. You know what I mean? Yep. I think on the Live Nation Urban side, you know, with you and Brianna and Aisha and Mike and Coben and the squad, Tyler, we've been building from a creative perspective. I think it's not going to end when the COVID season ends. Like some of these seeds that we're planting, you know, we're going to be talking about it in 2021 and 2022. Like, oh, do y'all remember when we had this idea? Right. That happened on that group call, you know, back when we were at home. So, Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's actually been, after those first couple of weeks, it's actually been pretty exciting.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's actually been pretty dope, you know, just being able to create.
So I think the through my entire interview been entrepreneurship. And it's also mentorship. That you had Al Haymon mentor. You know, I consider you my mentor. I think one of the pillars of Live Nation, bringing up the next generation. And you know, I want to wrap this up. Really talk about the importance of entrepreneurship and really bringing up future leaders.
I think it's beyond important. You know, I think you know, Al was my OG, is my OG, and was. Hopefully you're not looking at this. He's like, what do you mean was? Al is my OG, but Al comes from, you know, a different mentality, a different generation, right? Al was the most successful Black promoter in the history of the business. You know what I mean? He sold his business 2-3 times. You know what I mean? He's done, now he's owning boxing, right? He's out of the live business, he's owning boxing. But there was only one Al Haymon. You know what I mean? And you know, to a certain extent, I am his legacy. You know what I mean? I am Al Haymon's legacy. And he's my OG, but I don't do things exactly the same. For me, part of my mission, outside of building shows and helping my artists and making money, I don't believe any of that is going to be my legacy. You know what I mean? I don't think the Roots picnic is my legacy. You know, as attached as I am to the Roots, you know what I mean? And I am a Root. I don't think the Roots are going to be my legacy. The Roots are Tariq and Amir's legacy. I just help them see, you know, build their dreams. You know what I mean? I help them build to their dreams. I think, you know, my goal is, my legacy is you. My legacy is Heather Lowry. My legacy is Tyler Scott. My legacy is Joe Harris at CAA. My legacy is really providing opportunity to young African-American executives so that there isn't just one Al Haymon. You know what I mean? Like, after I'm done in this game, I want the seeds to be planted across the industry so that, you know, there's 100 of y'all, there's 1,000 of y'all, and then some of y'all won't think it's important to give back and pull that next generation up, but a lot of y'all will.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's how the paradigm changes. That's how this thing shifts. It's not going to be one person or two people. It's not going to be 1 year or 2 years. You know what I mean? But what it has to be is intentional. You have to make people feel uncomfortable. You got to call it out. You got to. Because if you don't call it out, all you're doing is perpetuating the same issue that's there. Oh, okay, yeah, I made it. I'm good. You know, hey, hi. You know what I mean? I'm the only one in the room. No. You got to call it out, and then you got to provide the solution. And then once you got your army, send your army out there and have them provide solutions, right? So that's where, you know, for me, it's actually a part of me. You know what I mean? That I have to do. Right. You know, that has to, you know, when I wake up, like, I can't go to sleep if that, you know, I want to make money. Absolutely, I want to make money. You know what I mean? Do I want my kids to thrive and survive and have a better life than I did? Absolutely. But my legacy in this business is going to be the opportunity that either I directly or indirectly provide for, so that more Shawn Gees can be there 2-3 generations from now.
That's the way we. I mean, that's you know, I want to thank you so much, man. I think the knowledge that you have has been impactful for everyone listening. We appreciate it.
All right, no doubt.
All right, this is episode 6. Meet the founder, host Brandon Payne. We'll be back next week. Thank you again. Incredible interview. Next week, everyone.
Peace.